Okay, when we left off, we were talking some about calculating variance, and we used Excel here to do some of this calculations and these calculations. So we started with these numbers here, and step by step we went through and calculated the components of the variance equation. And of course, you'll remember we could have done that by hand too. We started doing that by hand, and then it's simpler to do it in Excel. Now, of course, when you get a large number of values and when you start collecting a lot of field data, you're not going to want to do this even in Excel piece at a time. You'd prefer to have a statistics package do this. So we're going to use two different statistics packages this quarter. We're going to use JMP, and then we're going to use the free package R, which is more of a script-based package. First, I'm going to walk through how to get these summary statistics in JMP, and then we'll walk through how to get these summary statistics in R. So first, let's do JMP. I'm using a Windows machine today, and so in my Windows machine, it's going to be a little faster for me to just open up JMP. So I'm going to go to my Start menu, and I'm opening up JMP 14, which will come up on the screen here for me relatively quickly. It's going to look like that, and usually you get some tip of the day that's going to pop up for you like this, which I'm frequently just going to delete. The first thing we have to do with JMP is get our data in. This is relatively easy in JMP, just to copy all of the data all together, including the header for the data. And then using this new data table button up here in the corner, we can add new data. So the new data table is right here, and we're going to click it, and that will allow us to add new data. So now we get a new data table, which is nice. We like that. And if I go edit paste with column names rather than just paste, it'll go ahead and add the column name that I had before. So I used X before, and I get my column named, and then I get all of my individual values. To run this in JMP, to get summary statistics, it's very quick. All we're going to do is go to the Analyze button, and we're going to go to Distribution. Now note in JMP there are a number of different options in the Analyze menu. We're going to start with Distribution, and as we go through the quarter, we're going to get more and more complicated here. So we're starting with the first one. Sorry, my hand was in front of the camera there. We're going to start with the first one, Distribution, and then we'll move down through what's available on your screen here into the more complex BERT analysis options as we get more complex in our thinking about parametric statistics. So first we're going to choose distribution. So analyze distribution. And you'll see that X is already selected here, and I'm going to go ahead and put X in the columns that I want to analyze. I want to point out a few things about what you're seeing here on your screen that are relatively important. First, notice that this shows up with a little symbol, which is a little blue ramp. That blue ramp is to tell us that this data is continuous. That's really important because data can take a lot of different forms. It could be yes and no. Well, there's no yes and no does not necessarily form a continuum. I guess it could be zeros and ones. It could be the names of individual birds or individual plants. So data can have all sorts of different forms, and only one of those forms is continuous data across a range. Most of the data that we work with analyzing is going to be in the form of either continuous, or in a few cases, it will be nominal or zeros and ones. But for the most part, it's going to be continuous data. JMP has some other symbols that it uses if your data are not continuous. And we'll get to those as we go, but it's good to note here, make a note to yourself, we're dealing with continuous data, and that's important. We would do something else if our data weren't continuous. Okay. So our Y columns are there. Here we have the X values here selected, and we just hit OK. Our distribution is presented to us right away. We get a number of summary statistics, which should be similar to what we calculated before. In addition, we get a histogram, and the default in JMP is to have this histogram be sideways or vertical. We can uncheck the box by going here into the little red drop down here, histogram options, vertical, and then we get a normal looking histogram that shows us the distribution of our data. And you'll see that we have a mean, we have a standard deviation, standard error, the mean, and then we have a confidence interval. And a confidence interval is something we didn't talk about, but it comes directly from what we've already calculated, the standard error in particular. So that's how we do it in JMP.